Ever wondered what it takes to turn down a $6 billion offer? Today we're diving into the world of Eric Paul Lefkofsky.
Hey there, I'm Leah, feeling excited today.
And I'm Garrett, ready to explore another fascinating topic.
Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett. Today's topic is Eric Paul Lefkofsky, the American billionaire known for founding and scaling technology-driven companies, and the man who turned down Google's massive offer for Groupon. I once tried to use a Groupon for a cello lesson, which turned into a whole new hobby for me. It's wild how one simple discount pulled me into something I now love. That platform made testing a new experience feel easy and low risk, which kind of mirrors how startups lower the barrier to try something new in the market.
All right, let's set the stage for this one. Eric Lefkofsky is an entrepreneur from the Midwest who built a bunch of data-driven companies. Big ones you might recognize: Groupon for daily deals and Tempus AI for personalized cancer care. Personalized care here means using data from a patient's genes and medical records to tailor the treatment rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach.
And what ties his work together is that focus on software and data. He kept finding messy, fragmented areas of the economy and asking, how do we digitize this and make decisions smarter? E-commerce, logistics, ad buying, and then healthcare. Different arenas, same theme: build systems that learn and get better over time.
He also co-manages Lightbank, which is a Chicago-based venture capital firm. Venture capital is money that investors put into early startups in exchange for ownership stakes. It's fuel for new ideas, and Lightbank has been part of scaling a lot of those ideas in the Midwest, not just on the coasts.
And beyond business, he's been active in Chicago's cultural life, chairman at the Art Institute of Chicago, on the board at the Museum of Science and Industry, a trustee at Steppenwolf Theater Company, and involved with World Business Chicago, which is a group that promotes the city's economic development and tech growth. It's a whole ecosystem play, not just company by company. Let's open the book on this. He was born in Michigan, grew up in a Jewish household, and kept those Midwestern roots even as he later centered much of his work in Chicago. His parents' jobs were pretty grounded. His dad was a structural engineer and his mom was a teacher, which feels like a stable foundation for a high-risk career he'd eventually pursue.
He graduated with honors from the University of Michigan, then got a law degree, his JD, there too. Here's the twist. Despite that legal training, he decided not to practice law. He chose to build companies. That pivot shows up later in his teaching. He likes to highlight that frameworks and execution matter more than your initial credential.
Early on, he teamed up with Brad Keywell, who becomes a frequent co-founder in his story. Together they bought Brandon Apparel in the early 1990s using money borrowed from relatives. That's real risk, but also real belief in themselves.
Then came Starbelly in 1999, which was an internet company for promotional products. Think branded swag, but purchased through a tech-forward platform. It was dot-com-era energy, and the company quickly got acquired by Halo Industries in early 2000, where Lefkofsky served as chief operating officer. That's an early example of scaling after a sale.
And in 2001, he co-founded Inner Workings, which streamlined print procurement for mid-sized companies. In simple terms, it made buying printed materials like packaging or marketing collateral more efficient with software. That emphasis on cutting waste and using data shows up again and again for him.
A few years later, in 2005, he co-founded Echo Global Logistics. That's a software-driven freight brokerage and transportation management company. Basically, it helps businesses ship goods more intelligently by matching loads to carriers using data. Logistics sounds dry, but when you shave costs and time, it's a big deal.
Why logistics, though? Like, of all the places to put energy, why go there?
Because it's fragmented and runs on thin margins. If software can optimize routes or capacity, that small percentage improvement at scale is massive. It's a classic data problem. Better information equals better matching, and better matching equals savings and speed. All of that laid the groundwork. Now, the rise that most people remember starts with the Point.com in 2007. That was founded by Andrew Mason, who later became CEO of Groupon. And the idea was collective action. Eric put in $1 million early. Collective action meant people could band together online to reach a threshold for some cause or deal. It later pivoted to what we know as Groupon, and that rebrand came in late 2008.
So Groupon becomes a daily deals marketplace. For anyone who missed that moment, the model was time-limited discounts that merchants offered to large groups of buyers. In 2009, Excel Partners and New Enterprise Associates, NEA, a big venture capital firm, put in $30 million. That is a strong yes from top-tier investors.
Then in April 2010, Groupon raised $135 million from Digital Sky Technology and Battery Ventures at a valuation of about $1.35 billion. Unicorn territory for that era. The fuel was there to expand geographically and category-wise, fast.
And here's where it gets really interesting. In December 2010, Google reportedly offered $6 billion to buy Groupon. The offer was turned down. The precise reasons are still debated. Some point to antitrust concerns, which are rules meant to prevent monopolies and protect competition, while others say the team believed they could build more value on their own path.
The company also raised $950 million in October 2011, and about $810 million was paid out to employees and investors. Reports said Lefkofsky and his family received roughly $398 million. Big secondary liquidity like that, while still private, was unusual and definitely drew a lot of attention.
Meanwhile, it wasn't just Groupon. Inner Workings went public in August 2006, and Echo Global Logistics went public in 2006. Two separate IPOs within months. An IPO is when a company sells shares to the public and lists on an exchange. That kind of back-to-back market debut is rare.
And in ad tech, he co-founded MediaBank in 2006 for advertising buyers. MediaBank later merged with Donovan Data Systems in 2012 to form MediaOcean, a deal estimated at about $1.5 billion. Quick definition: Donovan Data Systems was a legacy ad buying and back-office platform. MediaOcean became the combined backbone for a lot of agency workflow.
Why do you think so many of these pieces clicked around the same time? Logistics, print procurement, ad tech, daily deals.
Because the mid-2000s had better internet infrastructure and better data tools. If your thesis is digitize messy markets, that window was perfect. He also had recurring investor relationships like with NEA and a tight co-founder loop with Brad Keywell. That reduces friction and speeds execution.
The resolution of this arc is a pivot to something with deep social impact. In 2015, he founded Tempus AI, where he's CEO. Tempus aggregates genomic data, your DNA blueprint, and clinical data, your medical history, and uses machine learning to help doctors choose cancer treatments tailored to each patient. That's precision medicine in action.
He'd already shown interest in predictive analytics, using data to forecast outcomes by investing in Uptake Technologies in 2014. Uptake focused on industrial performance. So Tempus was like, take that data conviction and apply it where the stakes are literally life and health.
On the leadership side, he became Groupon's CEO in 2013, then stepped down in 2016 and returned to chairman. That lined up with the growing demands of building Tempus. It's like he moved from consumer-scale engagement to outcome-scale engagement.
Philanthropically, he and his wife Liz started the Lefkofsky Family Foundation in 2006, funding education, medical research, and the arts. And in 2013, they joined the Giving Pledge, which is a public promise to donate the majority of one's wealth to charitable causes over time. That aligns with focusing on healthcare impact later on.
He also taught entrepreneurship and technology at DePaul's Graduate Business School, Northwestern's Kellogg, and the University of Chicago's Booth School. That tracks with his book, Accelerated Disruption, which is about how startups ride technology shifts to outpace incumbents. Real talk, it's like giving students the operator's manual for building in fast-moving markets.
As of September 2025, his net worth was estimated at about $6 billion, which obviously moves with markets and private valuations. But that figure represents decades of turning data platforms into value across very different industries. Here's the question that still sparks debate. Why did Groupon turn down Google's reported $6 billion offer in 2010? Was it primarily antitrust risk, or was it belief that Groupon could be bigger on its own?
I lean toward confidence in the standalone path. The company was scaling fast, had top-tier investors, and had that flywheel of merchants and users. If you believe the market still has room to run, saying no could feel like choosing long-term upside. But yes, antitrust government checks on market dominance was a real concern. A deal of that size with a company like Google would invite scrutiny.
I'm with you that growth optimism was strong. At the same time, I can't ignore regulatory gravity. Even if the team loved the price, a protracted review could have slowed momentum or reshaped the deal. And sometimes, integration into a giant comes with cultural trade-offs that change the product's trajectory.
Why might turning it down still make sense even if antitrust wasn't the main blocker?
Because optionality matters. Keeping control lets you test more, expand faster, and set your own priorities. Also, market sentiment was hot. If you believe you can ride that wave longer than the integration would take, you might pick the independent path, even knowing it's riskier.
So we've got two rational stories. One, the antitrust path looked messy. Two, the growth story looked compelling. And we don't have a definitive insider memo that ranks those reasons. That uncertainty is part of why people still talk about it. Culturally, Groupon really became a pop-era icon for discovering local experiences. It was shorthand for a fun discount night or trying a class you wouldn't have otherwise. And then there's a family note, too. One of Lefkofsky's children, Stella Lefty, is a viral singer-songwriter. It's an unexpected crossover between startup headlines and pop culture buzz.
What if Groupon had accepted Google's $6 billion offer? I picture Groupon getting folded into Google's local commerce and maps stack, maybe accelerating merchant tools and local advertising inside that ecosystem. Chicago's tech scene might have looked different, with that exit influencing where talent and capital flowed next.
And what does that do to Eric's path? If the deal closed, liquidity hits earlier and maybe larger. Would that have pulled forward or reshaped the move into healthcare with Tempus? Maybe Tempus still happens, but the timing or scale changes, or maybe more capital gets channeled through Lightbank first into other startups before the healthcare leap.
Would Chicago's startup map look more acquisition-heavy after a headline that big? Maybe more founders aim for strategic exits earlier. On the flip side, without Groupon as a continued standalone story, the city might have missed some operator experience that later recycled into other companies. Hard to say. That's the butterfly effect of tech ecosystems.
And if Groupon lived inside Google, would the product have evolved the same way? Corporate priorities can be different. Local commerce could have become a feature rather than a focal point. That could have changed how merchants and customers engaged with deals altogether. Thanks for joining us on Laid Back Learning.
Stay curious, folks,